Welcome back to another edition of the Blitz. I'm John Benson, and we have a jam-packed show tonight.
Yes, we do. That's right. We'll have a couple coaches stopping by a little later, and of course, plenty of highlights. We'll start in Valdosta, where the Wildcats had their biggest game of the season last week against Lowndes, but they were shut out 3-0 to drop them to 4-2 on the season. They tried to bounce back tonight against Tift County. Pretty good crowd on hand for the Valdosta Tift County game. Early on, a reverse here to receiver Malik Henry for a touchdown. That makes it 14-0 in the first quarter. So big early lead for the Blue Devils. The band, they're pleased with that. And then Valdosta QB Seth Schumann trying to make something happen. Rolls left, sees nothing. Rolls right, sees something. Rico Ramsey catches the ball, and he's got nothing but green grass after that. That cuts the Tift County lead in half, makes it 14-7 there. Valdosta fans are pleased that they're getting back in the ball game. Then on the ensuing kickoff, Ladarius Stewart sees a little green grass himself, makes a cut, gets a couple blocks, eventually brought down on the 30-yard line. So good field position, but they couldn't take advantage because the Cats defense, they would rise up on this possession, forces Tift County to turn the ball over on downs. Then Valdosta QB Schumann, 4th and 2, completes the pass. Circus catch there by Mac Loudermilk for a first down inside the 15-yard line. 12 seconds left in the half, 3rd and goal for the Cats, but the Blue Devil defense makes a play there, stopping them short. They force a field goal attempt on the last play of the first half. The kick is good. Right now it's 31-21 Valdosta in the 4th quarter. And then it's Colquitt County entering the field. It's the Packers and Brunswick there. Pretty good crowd on hand as usual at MacTharp Stadium. Brunswick QB Corey Dixon moving around looking for someone. He is sacked by Mike Parrish of the Packers, and then they would capitalize. 3rd and 1 for QB Daniel Mobley. Rushes through for a first down, and then the very next play, the little pitch to Cheyenne King. He gets outside the edge, 8 yards for the touchdown. PAT is good, 7-0 Colquitt County. Later, 1st and 10. Mobley back to pass, and he gets absolutely leveled by Keenan Wilson. He would have to sit out a few plays, but he would be okay. Back in the game here on 4th and 3. Pass to Keel Pollard in the end zone, incomplete. End of the first quarter, it was 7-0 Brunswick. The final, though, Colquitt rolls 41-16.
And continuing with some more big region games with the first-year head coach Ed Pilcher takes on to the road to face off Fitzgerald and the Purple Hurricanes, and both coming off of a loss from last week and trying to bounce back. The Indians coming into this matchup are looking to get back on track after suffering a 3-game losing streak going into this one. And in the first 9 seconds of the game, that's Fitzgerald's quarterback Romanius Galden, who throws the ball to the running back Trey Graham, who ran the ball 63 yards for the Hurricane touchdown. And third down, Fitzgerald fumbles the ball on the snap, and Berrien, the Rebels, recover the ball, and they take control of the Fitzgerald 24-yard line. On the next play, Rebels, that's Blake, who hands it off to the running back Isaac Tillman, who runs the ball for the Rebel 1st and goal. And then 4th down, Berrien, that's Blake again, looks to pass, and he finds, that's Taylor Griner. But the pass is actually incomplete, and Fitzgerald would later take control of the ball. And in this one, the Purple Hurricanes would roll in this one 21-14 over the Rebels. And moving just down the road to Irwin County, the big rival to the Purple Hurricanes, who gave them their only tie of the year. And it was the formerly ranked, #1 ranked team in the Georgia. And first play, that's second play from scrimmage, that's Ryan Patterson, who gets loose, and he goes 65 yards for the touchdown to go quickly up 7-0 Irwin. And then Lanier County, as JT Williams busted left for a big game, but being dragged from behind. He would get later deep into the territory, and then inside the Irwin 10-yard line, fumbles the ball, killing the drive, and that would be a turnover. And then Indians inside the 10, that's Patterson breaks loose once again. This time he would bounce outside up the sidelines. No one would catch him. Actually, he would get tripped up on his own feet there after trying to do the juke, and he's upset with that one. And then a few plays later, with the handoff, and he would go in for 6, not a problem, but the PAT was blocked, 13-0 Irwin, and Irwin showing you why they were formerly #1 as they would win 61-13 over Lanier. And check it out, our team of the week, and from last week's performance is Cairo and the Syrup Makers. The Syrup Makers had a huge win over Worth County and Jason Tone's Ram, 42-28 last week. And with that win, that moves Cairo to over 500 in the region with a 2-1 record and sitting at 3-3 overall. And with that win, that bumps the Syrup Makers to third in the region 4A standings. So putting them just one behind Monroe and Westover in the standings. And tonight, Cairo was in action with another big region game against Albany, and we'll have highlights from that game later. So congratulations to Cairo and the Syrup Makers for being our team of the week. Coming up next, we go live with the new edition, Fox 31. That's Doug. That's Doug, who's actually sitting, and then later we'll sit down with head coach Corey Joyner and an update on the Trojans this year, and we'll have all this more next on the Blitz.
Welcome back to the Blitz. Things were looking up a few weeks back for the Terrell County Green Waves, but after a couple blowout losses, they are back under 500 on the season. They tried to stop the bleeding tonight when Miller County came to Dawson. The Pirates taking the field before the game, but Terrell County coach Vincent Huff thinks the Green Waves are ready to go. On the opening kickoff, the kick returner gets a few nice blocks, breaks a tackle or two for a nice return there. Good field position for Miller County. Then the short pass to the wide receiver, and he gets down the sideline for a good gain. But then on the play action pass, bad news for Miller County. Terrell County's Jatorius Jones reads it beautifully and comes up with the interception. And then new freshman quarterback Trey Bishop sells the fake for the Green Waves, rolls out and hits Joe Ward, big Joe Ward, for a first down. Same drive, they hand off to Jatorius Jones, reads his blocks, hits it hard up the middle for another Green Wave first down. So they are driving, and then Terrell County runs the read option. Bishop follows his blocks again and hightails it to the end zone. Green Waves take the lead at that point. We do not have a score right now, but we will get one to you as soon as we can. Now it's time for our game of the week, and we are at the Jackets Nest for Thomas County Central and Lee County, a couple of good 5A teams squaring off important region game. Early on, Lee County strikes first. That's Devontae Say right up the middle for 6. But then it was the Adam Choice show after that. Here he rolls left, makes a couple moves, doesn't break any tackles, is pushed out of bounds, and then with the keeper goes right up the middle for a touchdown. Beautiful play there. And then Choice again, option play, but he ditches the play, cuts back upfield. That's why he's going to Clemson. Hard to bring down there. That is a touchdown for Thomas County Central. And right now, the score to that game is 45-14. Thomas County Central wins. That is a final. Fox 31's Doug Reardon was out at Thomas County Central tonight, and he's going to provide a little extra analysis for us. Doug?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was an absolute barn burner for the first half. I got to tell you, this was my first experience with Georgia football. I'm from the north. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. This is good football. It was, like I said before, it was an absolute barn burner in the first half and first quarter. After that, after halftime, they went into the locker rooms, came out. I don't know what the Thomas County coaches said in there, but TCC came out swinging for sure. Adam Choice, that quarterback there, I feel bad for my Terps next year when they have to go up against him. He's committed to Clemson. Final score here, 45-14, a phenomenal game. Johnny, Patty, back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Doug. I'm glad you got a little taste of some Southwest Georgia football. Well, coming back to our local games, we head over to Hugh Mills, where head coach Felton Williams hosted the Cairo Syrup Makers for a big region showdown. Both teams coming off a win from last week, so going into this matchup, both coaches looking to continue the winning trend. And then first quarter, that's Malik Mathis, hands it off to Juwan Young for the stiff arm and the first down from deep in that territory. The drive would later stall. And then this would actually be William Atkins, who fumbles on the punt return, and then is a turnover for the Syrup Makers, and Albany would recover that ball. And then a 4-and-out later. And then Stacy Mathis, who the keeper finds the gap and takes it for a big game, first down and more, right up the middle of that Indians defense. However, next play, Maston looking and trying to find Reese Wooden, but it would be later picked off by Malik Dungy. And that's another turnover. That's 2 turnovers in just the second quarter alone. And then after the turnover, that's Kennedy who gets the ball and gets stuffed actually by Brian Souls in a huge loss. And then right before the syrup makers on a risky 4th and 2, we get stuffed by that Indian defense going into the half. And this game would actually end with Albany falling to the syrup makers 20-6. Well, now actually we have something a little different here. We're joined in the studio here tonight with head coach Corey Joyner from Dougherty County Trojans. Coach, how are you doing this evening?
Doing fine, doing fine.
Excellent. Well, actually, he's sitting at a bye this week, so I know you got a lot of big things going on for you this week. So how you and the Trojans been preparing for your next coming up game next week?
Well, what we're doing, we're just going back to the basics of trying to block and tackle well. I mean, the last couple of games that we have had, we haven't tackled well, nor have we blocked well. So we went back to the basics, trying to iron out some kinks that we need to iron out before we meet the big Westover.
Now, I know this season hasn't quite turned out the way you'd liked, but, you know, right now sitting in the region, you play a big Westover team next week. Yeah. So how are you guys, like, trying to stay motivated and preparing for next week's game?
Well, one thing about it, I told the team I'm kind of proud of them, the way they have handled themselves, even though we're sitting here at 0-7. A lot of guys could have quit, a lot of guys could have walked off, but they still come into practice, still practicing hard, and still trying to get better as individual and as an individual player, because we're still trying to build our program, and that's the main thing we're trying to do.
I was actually at the Albany game last week, and I was there for the first half. And Ladarian Royal, your running back there, had a fantastic first half there. Had a couple big plays for you guys, and scoring on the 4th and goal. How's he been doing progressing this season?
Well, that's the thing. We made some big improvement on our offensive line. They've been opening some big gaps for Ladarian. Ladarian probably have rushed for over 100 yards for the last 2 or 3 games. So, you know, that's a big plus for us. Ladarian is a sophomore, so he's coming back, and a lot of other guys are coming back.
All right, well, thanks, Coach. Well, when we come back, we'll have some more highlights along with Charles Truitt from Monroe Tornadoes, and we'll take a look at our Player of the Week. So stay with us here on The Blitz.
How you doing, Coach?
All right.
We'll make this quick and easy.
No.
Welcome back to The Blitz. In part 2 of our coach's interview, we are lucky enough to have Charles Truitt here, head man of the Monroe Tornadoes. Charles, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, tough non-region schedule, a couple losses early, but now you've got a few wins in a row. Do you feel like you kind of got the ball rolling a little bit on this season?
Yeah, we're feeling good right now. We have a number of kids that were hurt at the beginning of the season, and begin to get some of those kids back healthy, and begin that tough region schedule we had to non-region schedule begin to pay dividends for our region schedule.
Okay. I know you guys had some high hopes at the beginning of the year. How would you assess the progress so far?
Well, we started off slow. I mean, we didn't meet the goal that we set at the beginning of the season, but right now we're feeling good about our team. The kids are playing hard, and we corrected some of the mistakes that was causing us to lose ball game at the beginning of the year.
Okay. So you feel like you guys have a lot of confidence. I know you got some tough games coming up, Crisp County, Worth County. You feel like you guys have a renewed sense of confidence now after grabbing a couple key region victories?
Yeah, I really do, because we're planning to get some good competition in the region, and being able to win a couple of those games. The kid getting a little taste of winning in their mouth have went a long way for us. So we're hoping we continue to progress with that.
Okay. Now quarterback Charles Stafford, that kid's got an arm on him. What do you have to say about him? Does he kind of make the offense go a little bit?
He does. He's a coach on the field for us. Charles is a 4-year starter for us, and we expect for him to have big games. In the last 3 wins that we have had, he's been catalyst for our offense, and we look forward to him. We understand that, as well as he plays, we play well also.
Okay. Coach Truitt, thank you so much for joining us. Now we'll move on to a game between some of Monroe's region rivals. It was Worth County versus Crisp County in Cordele. At the Cougar Den, Crisp County coming out, and Worth County coming out as well. Early on, a short kickoff here to Crisp County, but he botches it, and that is a recovery for Worth County. Then the quarterback rushes in for the touchdown there. The Rams, they are happy about that one. But Chris County looks to respond. Campbell hands off to the back, makes a move all the way. Eventually brought down hard by the Worth County defensive guy. And then a handoff there to punch it in for 6 points. Big touchdown there. Chris County's done a great job of moving the ball this year. And then on the rollout, Campbell looking, throwing. Great catch on the sidelines by the receiver. And then the handoff, they punch it in there. Actually not a handoff. He faked everyone, including me. He kept it, and that's a touchdown. Chris County would hold on to, or actually in the fourth quarter, it's 39-32.
And continuing with some more highlights, but this time we're going to the GISA region with Frederica Academy hitting the road to Crisp Academy. Both schools coming off a big win in the region from the previous week, putting their perfect region record on the line. And then we're jumping quickly to the second half of the game, and this is a close one. Frederica, the Wildcats offense, had a hard time moving the ball, and that's Banks Folsom with the catch and nowhere to run on that one. And then Fred Wildcats, he would fight for the first down and more. And then once again, Fred James would also he would end up later getting tripped up on his old feet, probably the grass there. And then another play from him once again. This time he said, no, I'm not going to trip this time. Actually, he does. And so we're here. Here we go. We're at the fourth down. This is it for the game to keep the drive alive. And it was overthrown, incomplete pass. Unfortunately for the Wildcats, he could not keep the drive alive. And the Wildcats would end up falling in this one again against Crisp County, or 14-0. And it's our player of the week from last week's performance. So we head to Brooks County and look at Malcolm Parrish, who's a standout performance against Fitzgerald and the Purple Hurricanes. Parrish plays both sides of the ball, but spends most of his time under center. And last week he went 14 of 23 for 240 yards in the air with 3 different touchdowns. Not to mention he's also a pretty good safety who got an interception later in the game that was good for a 70-yard return. That led the team to a huge win over the Purple Hurricanes, 39-21. So congratulations to Malcolm Parrish for being our player of the week. And taking a look at our play of the week for this evening. And we go to JC Stadium tonight. The Purple Hurricanes are taking on Berrien County and those Rebels. And the first 9 seconds of the game, that would be Romarius Galden throws the ball to the running back Trey Graham, who ran it for 63 yards for the Hurricane touchdown. And they would have the victory over this one with the help of that touchdown. So congratulations to him for being our play of the week. Coming up next on the Blitz, get to hear and see or build up leading up to the big game under the lights with our Darden correspondents. All this and more next on the Blitz. Welcome back to the Blitz. Our Darden College correspondents took their talents to Terrell County and captured the sights and sounds of the game. And we'll check out, see what they've got for us.
Jeremy Hayes, your campus correspondent. Tonight I'm here at Terrell Academy as the Eagles take on the Brookwood Warriors. Here's some sights and sounds.
Down by Raleigh Carlson at the Brookwood 45-yard line. 1st and 10 Warriors.
Don't mess with the Eagles. Don't mess with our team. Win this game. Warriors are gonna win this game.
Wait, out, wait. Touchdown.
That's it for tonight at Donville Field. Now back to the studio.
Man, you know, I know the focus is about the football game and everything, but those burgers and fries got me a little hungry.
Delicious. I'm very hungry. To wrap up the highlights tonight, we'll head back to Dawson for Terrell Academy and Brookwood. What you just saw, we'll show you the highlights right now. Coach Bill Murdoch and his Eagles going for win number 4 on the year. On the kickoff in the first quarter, Terrell Academy with a little triggeration, reverse on the return, gets some good yardage for them, but that drive stalls though, and Brookwood's Bradley Clark sheds the block and gets the big sack. And then Warrior QB Cale Deese throws the screen here to Taylor Patterson, gets outside. That'll move the chains a little bit. And that's not the end of Patterson. Here he goes again, handoff to him, wide open, cuts it outside. That is 6 for Brookwood School as they take the lead. Eagles try to answer though. The handoff to Gray Rowe nets some tough yards for him. That's some tough running for Rowe. And then quarterback Dalton Todd on the keeper. He breaks a tackle and takes it to the house. That's a big play, but unfortunately they would need some more big plays. They lose 42-35. Well, tonight it was Thomas County Central and Lee County, and more good options next week. Valdosta will travel to Colquitt County. That'll be a tough one for them. And then Americus Sumter and Cairo, they'll try to take on the cert makers there. Americus Sumter, they need a win. Brooks County and Cook is an option, and so is a little private school action here. Southland Academy and Tift Area Academy. It's that time of the week again. It's the Fan of the Week. And tonight's Fan of the Week comes from Death Valley in Valdosta. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness, one Wildcat fan put on pink powder in support of his team and of his cause. Congratulations to him for being our Fan of the Week. And that'll do it for us. We want to thank Coach Truitt and Coach Joyner for coming in to talk to us. That was a nice little element tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the highlights, and come back again for more great highlights next week.